this. All right. Okay. So I'm going to cover the remainder of this so-called trade associations, trade agreements between countries or within regions. Okay, there's a bundle of them actually. Okay, and right. So last week we already talked about WTO, GATT, and the development of these what we call trade agreements between countries and regions. So this week we have two things. One is the European Union. Analyze the opportunities for international businesses created by completion of the European Union's internal market, and also other major trading blocks that exist in today's world economy. Okay. I have described to you already last week the forms of economic integration, beginning from free trade agreement, bilateral agreement, multilateral. So you have this from free trade area right until, well, the ultimate is political union, which is actually quite difficult. But anyway, so we're going to actually look at Europe as I think there's now Norway is they're still out of European Union. They have this association, European Eastern European Association or whatever. So the European Union, so they started with the original 6 members, and there are entrants in the 70s and 80s, right, until 2013. And probably after the Ukraine war, Ukraine is not in EU yet, right? Ukraine, so they'll probably be entering EU after the Ukraine-Russian war. This is actually one of the most important regional trade bloc in the whole world today, EU. Okay, they have 27 members. Of course, Britain left in 2020. It used to be 28, right? And why it is important? Because it's, it holds 513 million people of the world. Of course, not as big as China. It has very small population and it's very rich. So the per population, per person is very high. Okay, the wealth of per person compared to India, for example, 1.2 billion. Okay, China another 1 point something billion. So it's one of the world's richest markets with a total GDP of 17.3 trillion or 21% of the economy. But the population is not even what the world's population today is. I don't know, 7-8 billion. So you find that percentage. It's a very small percentage compared to the the world's population. So it's one of the probably one of the most successful, despite the challenges. So the formation of EEC, European Economic Community. So it has changed name a few times, right? EU before it became EU. So this is the founding countries: France, West Germany, Belgium, Netherlands. Okay, they signed the Treaty of Rome in 1957. Today, now it's already 2022. Okay, 2022 is like 65 years. Okay, 65 years of. So then they became the European Community, EC, joined by UK. We'll see the the history behind it a little bit after this. Okay. And the Treaty of Maastricht, 1991, and EC became to be known as European Union. Okay, and further countries joined until they became 28. But Britain decided to leave EU, Brexit. Okay. Uh, we have, there is a theory for that. Okay, I will explain after this. This is the statistics for the economies for this all these countries. Total EU 27, EU 28. Okay, EU 27 is for only 446.5 billion population. Total GDP of 14.6 billion. Per capita 32,000. What is this? Is it in dollars? Okay. Right. So this is the. So EU is a unique institution. Yeah, it's unique because no other setup in this world actually has integrated some of the many of the political what do you call political issues. Okay, political integration between the members countries. Right. So members of sovereign countries have ceded certain of their powers to the EU economy, currency. Okay, and it's actually being described as it is intergovernmental government because it is a government of national governments and there is a supranational government governing it, the European Parliament and so on. Okay, the justice. Right. So it is a unique. No other place in the world actually has this kind of setup. Okay, right. Of course, the development of becoming EC is I believe it is not easy. Okay, it's not easy. Probably it's still there are still issues that will keep on linger. So 5 organization performs executive, administrative, legislative and judicial functions. Okay, the European Council, the Council of the European Union. I briefly described. Okay, the European Commission, European Parliament, European Court of Justice. Right. So it is what is governing the EU is the European Council. European Council consists of the heads of state or government from each of the member states. And there is a president of the European Council and also a president of the European Commission. Okay, I do not know how they actually separate the powers, but there is a separation in terms of responsibilities and jurisdiction, obviously. Okay, right. Let me see. Okay. So it consists the head of government, the president of council, president of your European Union Commission. So the EU's High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy also participate in these meetings and normally convenes twice every 6 months. And actually, okay, this is important. The EC, the European Council will actually determine political priorities and policy agendas. So this is the, that's why it's the council, because this is where the policies are being drawn up, priorities and policies. And the decisions are usually based on consensus. Okay. And it's also noted here that unless the EU treaties require a different voting rule, normally it's done by consensus. So in reaching this decision, only the heads of government may vote. Okay, so it only became the official EU institution in 2009. During when Treaty of Lisbon actually entered into force. So this is the first, structure, first organization that exists in what do you call EU? Okay, so the representatives of member states, the EU's it is actually the most powerful decision-making body. The Council of the European Union. Okay, the Council of the European Union previously named the Council of Ministers. Right. Okay, I'm not going to actually go to too much detail on this, the structure of this. So the next one is the European Commission. It proposes the legislation and implement the treaty provisions that has been decided, and it aims to actually protect the interests of the members of all the members of the EU. Okay, and it has power. It's actually powerful, extensive power in implementing the U.S. Customs Union, the Common Agriculture Policy, and the completion of the internal market, the EU internal market, right? And also it actually is the permanent so-called EU's bureaucracy. It administers the EU's permanent bureaucracy, which actually employs 32,000 people. It's known as bureaucrats. Okay, and it is it's said that 2/3 work at the headquarters in Brussels. Okay, European Commission. Right. So I wonder, how do you communicate with people? We have 24 languages and have to be translated into different languages during meetings. It employs 1,750 linguists to actually do all this translation work in order to make people understand. Sometimes when we translate, there's a lot of loss of meaning in translation sometimes. Okay. This is the bureaucrats. Okay. And the next body is the European Parliament. Okay, same like, so it's like a political setup as well, right? Because when you have a parliament, then it's already a political setup. So the European Parliament currently has 751 representatives elected to serve a 5-year terms, and the seats are allocated in rough proportion to a country's population. It was actually originally the weakest of the EU's governing bodies, but it has become stronger. Okay, so many Europeans actually concerned about the lack of accountability in decision-making process. So the role of the European Parliament will actually expand and grow over time. And over the years, because of Parliament has used its budgetary powers, so it has become stronger. Okay, because it has gained additional powers under the newer Maastricht Treaty, Amsterdam Treaty, Nice, and Lisbon. So they are now, it is actually able to actually, to get all countries to agree on what they call new tariff and practices, or even customs practices. It's not easy actually. Okay, right. So it's going to grow, right? The power is actually going to grow. And of course, together with that, you need the European Court of Justice, consists of 27 judges serving 6-year terms. And because of the the new EU laws, and so it need to be interpreted and also be what do you call, resolved when there are issues. Okay, so the European Union actually interprets the law and ensure members follow the EU regulation, ensures compliance to EU regulation and policies by member countries. Okay. Okay, I'll just read an example from the book. For example, the court declared Germany's 450-year-old beer purity law regulating beer additives illegal. Okay, that means the purity law that regulate beer additives are actually illegal, and ruling that the law unreasonably restricted imports into Germany. Okay, so that is what they call, and another case is actually how do you pronounce it? Cases de Dijon, which actually created the common market, the Treaty of Rome. Later on, after we'll see this. Right. so the legislative process is complicated. Okay, the legislative process has never been simple. So the Commission proposes, the Parliament advises, the Council disposes. I believe because there are different. It's quite difficult, right? Trying to decide which particular body will actually make the final decision. So. So as the Parliament gained increased powers, the complexity of passing legislation has increased exponentially, which shows decision making under the co-decision procedure. Okay, co-decision procedure, which is shown in the next figure. So it involves the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union. So the co-decision procedure, which is this. I'm not going to explain this. Okay, this is how the decision is arrived at. I believe, it will take a very long time to reach to a decision or to make decision. Okay, so this is the co-decision procedure, Article 199B of the Treaty on European Union. The European Commission offers a proposal to the Parliament and the Council of European Union. Well, they start with opinion and so on. I'm not going to explain this. Okay, and there are conciliation committee trying to reach the agreement. If there is no agreement reached, Parliament can actually, if there is absolute majority, can also confirm or even reject whatever what do you call ruling that try to be established. Okay, so this is it is the complicated legislative process that actually exists in the Parliament as well as the Council of the European Union. Right. So that is the the legislative system, the Court of Justice, the legislative process that actually exists in EU, okay, European Union. Right. So the struggle to create a common market, of course, trying to make everyone agree on one policy, it takes a lot of work, and so to establish a common market, so each country will have to agree to change national law, product standards, and everything, okay, regulation, procedures, to ensure that it is actually meeting or compatible with the other EU members. So in practice, the member nations actually move cautiously because of political pressures from domestic special interest groups or local domestic businesses who will probably not agree, okay, not agree on certain new regulation, especially agricultural related goods that a country is strong at, right? Protecting, So this they had to rely on a process of harmonization to eliminate conflicts. So member countries will, they have to go through this harmonization process, which actually a process that encourage members to voluntarily adopt common regulations affecting trade in goods and services as well as movement of resources. So the process is called harmonization to eliminate conflicts. Okay, to eliminate conflicts. So even though it is slow, okay, but you need time to actually do that. That's why it is slow. Because of that, the progress towards eliminating conflicting product standards was so slow that some pessimists believe the EU would disintegrate. So in 1979, the European Court of Justice heard the new famous Cassis de Dijon case. Rue Zendral AG, a German wholesaler, wished to import this French liquor made from black currants into Germany. But this it failed to meet German regulatory standards, although its alcohol content was too low. The company sued the German manufacturer or German authorities, German regulatory standards. So this resulted into what we call as the cost decision to actually create the concept of mutual recognition. So the concept is if one member state determines that a product is appropriate for sale, then all other members are obliged to do so under the provisions of the Treaty of Rome. Okay, so mutual recognition of what you call products between member states started to be implemented or recognized. And the struggle to create a common market also, so in 1985, the European Commission issued the white paper on completing the internal market. So it called on accelerated progress to end all trade barriers and restrictions. So basically, in 1985, to actually make the remove the trade barriers and restrictions. And in 1986, the Single European Act, the members signed the Single European Act, which took effect on July 1st, 1987. Okay. This is in terms of customs clearance of all the goods entering member countries. So from common market, so that was only in terms of common market. Okay, so if you remember the progression from free trade area to customs union, okay, and also common market, whereby the members eliminate barriers that restrict movement of factors of production among members. Okay, so in 1991, the Maastricht Treaty, which actually amended the Treaty of Rome. Okay, the Council of Ministers actually discussed economic and political future of EU, both economic and political future, and how to reassert Europe on the world stage. Okay, so they actually signed this treaty, and one of the biggest impact is actually the establishment of the Economic and Monetary Union. So, which actually created the euro. Okay, creation of euro, reduced exchange rate, which actually reduced the exchange rate risk and currency conversion among member countries when they do business. Okay, rather than having individual. Of course, at the same time, member countries lose their their pride of having their own currency, right? I mean, some countries will actually feel that as well. Okay, but this created the European Union. So this is the creation of the single monetary system across Europe. But not all countries actually adopted at the same time, right? It's gradual. Right. So next, so this is actually the tracing the history of it, okay, of until it became EU. So 1997. So remember 1957. Now 1997 is right. Is it right? 1957 Treaty of Rome. Yeah, Treaty of Rome. So 40 years later, the Treaty of Amsterdam. So the most important component includes the strong commitment to resolve the high levels of unemployment problem in the EU. So that will allow the the transfer, the mobility, okay, the mobility of citizens to actually work in different in places that they actually want mobility within the union. And establishment of a two-track system allowing group of members to proceed with economic and political action faster than EU as whole. That means the creation of one constitution if possible. Okay. Right. So that is the Treaty of what do you call Amsterdam. Let me see. So the Maastricht Treaty granted citizens the right to live, work, vote, run for election anywhere within the EU, and strengthened the powers of the EU's legislative body, the European Parliament, in budgetary, trade, cultural, and health matters. Okay. So the treaty also created a new cohesion fund, a means of funneling economic development to countries whose per capita the GDP is less than 10%. So trying to help poorer European countries, okay, like Greece or Portugal and Ireland, okay. And of course, the most important aspect of the Maastricht Treaty is actually the creation of the single currency. Okay, I'm just reading from the text actually. So the euro came into being on January 1st, 1999. So member countries can irrevocably fix the value of their national currencies to the euro. I believe it must be a bit, it was quite difficult in the early years probably. However, euro coins and banknotes did not become immediately available. During the 3-year transition from 1999 to 2001, the euro existed only as a bookkeeping currency. Okay, it's only on paper, basically, right? Bookkeeping currency to settle transactions among participating EU governments and banking systems. So on 1st of January 2002, euro coins and bills were placed into circulation. Okay, so it started, it's only 20 years, 20 years since euro has been in circulation. Right. After 2-month transition, national countries were withdrawn from circulation. So in 2002, basically, those countries participating withdrawn their own national, currency. Right. Okay. So we've talked about Treaty of Amsterdam. Okay. So Treaty of Nice, February 2003. Again, trying to continue the integration process, and especially the most difficult one is actually the political integration. Okay, political integration, continued integration by making modest adjustments, reduce the risk of political gridlock as the number of members increase. Okay. So reduce number of areas where unanimity is required for council approval, yet more significant steps to reform EU's decision-making process. So they establish a constitutional convention to resolve these conflicts. Unfortunately, the proposed constitution was actually defeated in May 2005. French voters rejected the constitution, as well as the Dutch voters a week later, effectively killing the constitution. Basically, the Constitutional Convention was not accepted by member countries. So that resulted into the Treaty of Lisbon, but after 2 years. Okay, after 2 years, the so-called period of reflection, and or the reform treaty adopted many of the governance changes, and also treaty granted national legislatures the formal right to voice concerns about proposed EU legislation. Okay, right. Okay, I tried to cover. Okay, EU. The future EU challenges. Okay, the political conflicts still remain. State assistance to industry is still there. Yeah, under EU, national governments actually cannot subsidize to firms that actually distort the competition. That's what we have been trying to discuss. And also there are things which actually the government try to protect domestic. It's the same issues by many countries trying to protect domestic firms from corporate takeovers, but it is actually against the union rules and regulations. For example, the UK, I think one of the main reasons why UK actually they left what they call Europe is because of the common agriculture policy, right? One of the things now, of course, there are many other things. So UK were against the common agriculture policy, which actually benefits French farmers, to definitely not British interests. So these are sensitive things, arguable by countries. And then there is the belief, the perception of the lack of democracy and accountability, where more power should be given to the European Parliament. So this is very interesting. Okay, the things will keep on evolving, and the dynamics are there. So this is it's not very, it's quite interesting to actually view this so-called situations in which member countries, governments, the people of the country, the voters, right? So we call this the Rodrigues globalization trilemma or dilemma, right? So Rodrigue, so basically what he argues is that citizens of EU can enjoy any two of these two vertices only. They can only enjoy a perfect EU and a national sovereignty, or perfect EU democracy, or this national sovereignty and democracy. So they have to leave EU. They cannot be in single market. So if they are in the option one, you want a perfect market. You can agree on one set of rules, but member state need to ignore voters' wishes. So perfect EU market, preserve national sovereignty, sacrifice democracy. That means they only get these two, okay, these two vertices axis. Or another second option is, if you want a perfect market, European voters collectively agree to vote to establish common rules. Member states ignore, so the democracy is preserved. So you have this perfect state EU market is created. Okay, that means you have this. Where is it? It's between here and here, or between here and here. Right. We'll look at the third one first. And then the third option, if you want to allow voters to elect leaders of the countries, voters elect those that support other than perfect market. Okay, they're more interested in the economic interest, preserve job, maintain culture, maintain sovereignty and democracy. So this third option is they can only enjoy these two. They cannot have, the single market. Okay. Right. So what is this is it's a theory. Okay, it's a theory of Rodrigues globalization trilemma. Okay, so you can only have two of the three vertices, and you cannot have all three at the same time. Okay, so that's the challenge that is faced. Right. We move on. NAFTA. Okay, I think Alban mentioned NAFTA just now already, right? NAFTA is actually between or someone actually mentioned NAFTA. Norian kah? Norian. No. Is it Sarah? One of you actually mentioned about NAFTA just now.
Oh, yes, I think it's me. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it's me. It's me.
Okay, right.
Sorry.
Okay, it's a North American Free Trade Area agreement, not area, agreement. Okay, 94 is actually to, it's set up to remove barriers. Three countries, Canada, Mexico, United States. And over the 15 years, they've actually managed to reduce tariff, reduce NTBs, and as well as increase investment opportunities between, especially Mexico. Okay, Mexican economy has actually benefited the most, I believe, with the NAFTA agreement. Okay, but I recently found out that there is no more. It has been so if someone tells you that NAFTA is no more NAFTA today, because in July 2020 they have actually substituted NAFTA with the so-called USMCA. Okay, USMCA is US Mexico Canada agreement. It's just naming the countries. It's not. It's a mutually beneficial win for North American workers and so on. Blah blah blah. Agreement creating a more level playing field for American. So basically, it has replaced NAFTA. There's no more NAFTA. So it's a USMCA. Okay. Probably some enhancement regarding some of their so they say new chapters covering digital trade, anti-corruption, good regulatory practices, as well as a chapter devoted to ensuring SMEs benefit from the agreement. So you can actually notice here, right? So that's North Africa, not North America. So we'll move on to a different what do you call region. Central America and South America also created this. So all these are actually regional trade associations trying to enhance trade between member states and reducing tariff, what do you call non-tariff barriers. So these are the free trade agreements in the Americas. Okay, Caribbean Basin Initiative, the Central American Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement, the Mercosur Accord, the Indian Community. So there are countries that actually signed, and some of them signed in probably two agreements. There's overlapping, right? I move on to to a place which I'm not very familiar, which I'm more comfortable in my own ASEAN Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific. So the first one is actually the ANZ CR cities, or CER, which actually Australia New Zealand agreement. But this is between two countries, and of course it's trying to eliminate again foster cooperation in marketing. So different agreements will probably specify what are the areas in which they are going to focus upon. Okay, right. It's not really very old, it's still quite new. Okay, not 30 years, 30 over years, right, 40 years almost. Right. ASEAN is was established. Do you know there is ASEAN Games? We have ASEAN Games. That means between ASEAN countries. It's not political. There is no political. It's just economic and cultural. So promote regional political, no political, but cooperation. Every country is independent by itself. These are the founding members: Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, and of course there is the world actually resists the the acceptance of Myanmar into ASEAN because Myanmar is seen as not so democratic country. Okay, so we are strong. We because I'm in ASEAN, and because we have a trade pact with China. China is the largest economy today. Okay, that's no question about it. No question about it. China is the biggest economy today, and it will, become bigger. It will become bigger. So to promote intra-ASEAN trade, so member country establish ASEAN Free Trade Area, or so-called AFTA. Still very new, so 1993. So the members slash tariff 5% or less on most manufactured goods by 2003 and all goods by 2010. Well, it's still new, but there is, what do you call, cheaper products coming into the country. And of course, there is a big difference because Singapore is a developed country. Malaysia is still developing, and you have, underdeveloped. So it is it's a mixture of, not like Europe. Europe is generally very, above average. Other things in Asia Pacific, APEC, you have mentioned also APEC just now. Someone mentioned APEC. So APEC is actually 21 countries from both sides of the Pacific Ocean, trying to cooperate to the interdependence of the Asia Pacific economies. Okay, there is one which is actually the CPTPP, okay, Comprehensive Progressive Agreement for Trade Pacific Partnership, Trans-Pacific Partnership in the Pacific. So these are the countries: Australia, Brunei, Japan, and so on. Okay, but US to withdraw in 2018. Still, these countries chose to revive the TPP into a new form, the CPTPP. Right. So this is ASEAN. Okay, this is ASEAN. Okay, Myanmar is here, Malaysia, and so on. Indonesia, and Indonesia is actually becoming a very strong economy today. So future, I think Indonesia is going to be even bigger than Malaysia. It's going to be much more advanced than in Malaysia. The president is really crazy. When he was there was a conference, G20, if I'm not mistaken, G20. He even met Elon Musk. Elon Musk. He even met the one of the big names today in in the what do you call business. This is APEC. Okay, APEC, because Asia Pacific. Okay, this is the Pacific Ocean. It's Asia Pacific is whatever country that actually covers the APEC. APEC is actually a very strong trade session. So and we have rich countries. Okay, have you heard of One Belt One Road? One Belt One Road, which is actually China initiated so-called economic cooperation. So they call this as, if you see the red line here, let me just move this. So this is the Silk Road economic belt. So this is land. Okay, so they're trying to revive the in the olden days there's a Silk Road, like silk. Trading route from Europe right until the China in in Asia, and as well as there is the Maritime Silk Road Initiative, right, all through the what do you call waters, right? Colombo, where Sri Lanka today is in a bit of mess. Okay. The country is actually in chaos, but it's not because of China. I think I have to retract that. It's not because of China's debt. Okay, it's there are more issues than that. It's not because China has actually what do you call, given loans that actually Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. You know where Sri Lanka is, right? It's actually in Colombo here. Colombo is Sri Lanka. So this is trying to actually connect, okay, basically trying to connect through sea and you can imagine how the future is going to be like. Even Malaysia is affected. There is a place in Malaysia called Melaka. Melaka is actually a gateway for One Belt One Road initiative. Okay. Okay, we can actually, okay, let me just, okay, this is Africa. Okay, African, you can try and look at the South African Development Community, the Central Africa, the West African states. Of course, Africa must also what do you call, develop as well. There are a lot of opportunity. Those northern states, like what Sarah said, Morocco is a rich country. I think Algeria, Libya, Egypt are, even Sudan, even though they are not politically stable, but these are potentials. The last place in which the world should focus on developing. No, I saw just now. Let me just sorry. Can you still see the slide? Okay, this is RCEP. Okay, because this is very new, and Malaysia is actually one of them inside here. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership between ASEAN members as well as non-ASEAN members, Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand. So this is another, trade agreements. So it's too much trade agreement in the whole world. I think, so RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, that has came into effect to enter into force on 1st January 2022. Okay. Right. Sorry. I wanted to actually show you, you can read more about this. ASEAN. And you can read about, One Belt, One Road. Belt and Road Initiative. Okay. Right. Any questions? Anything that, is, it is a lot. Okay. I know it is a lot. It's really, what do you call, too many regional, what do you call, corporations that actually exist in the whole world. So wherever you want to do, to do specific study or business, so you need to actually investigate, as what you have done in your presentation just now. Okay, I think the most important is actually statistics. You need statistics. Dorian, you need statistics. you need statistics like balance of payment, surplus. You need GDP. You need all these. Like I asked question on Alban. What kind of products that actually. But if you are into further analysis, you need to know what kind of products that actually being exported or imported in a in economy. It's so diverse. I know it's so diverse. Even myself also, I cannot know all the countries' different products and services, and but of course that can be investigated and find out. Like now you're in Japan, Sarah. Okay, what's Japan good at? What's the do they have oil?
Well, I don't have anything that comes to my mind that in which they are extremely